Always smelled of metal, oil, and old air. He was finishing his shift, carrying a small medical kit that had seen better days. Helping others was not his job anymore, but it was something he never stopped doing. When alarms failed or guards looked the other way, people like him handled the small problems no one cared about. As he turned a corner near a restricted loading bay, he noticed something out of place. A figure lay on the floor, half hidden behind a cargo crate. At first, he thought it was scrap or a broken service unit. Then he saw the slow rise and fall of a chest. Someone was breathing, but barely. He knelt down without thinking. The woman was tall, wearing damaged armor that looked expensive and foreign. Deep cuts ran across her side and shoulder. Dark blood had soaked into the floor. Whatever fight she had been in, it was not small. Still, her face showed no fear, only exhaustion.
He did not ask who she was. He did not scan for rank symbols or call security. He simply opened his kit. His hands moved with quiet practice as he cleaned the wounds and stopped the bleeding. He spoke softly, not to calm her, but to keep himself focused. Words did not matter much. Actions did.
She stirred slightly, her eyes opening for a moment. They were sharp, alert even through pain. She watched him closely, as if waiting for something, fear, respect, or shock. None came. He just nodded once, like this was normal, like injured strangers appeared in his life every day. When she tried to speak, he gently stopped her. He told her to save her strength. He tightened the bandage, careful not to cause more pain. His movements were slow and steady, the way someone works when mistakes cost lives. Around them, the station remained silent. No guards arrived. No alarms sounded. The galaxy kept moving, unaware that something important was happening on a cold metal floor. Once the bleeding slowed, he helped her sit up against the crate. He offered water from his own supply. She hesitated, then drank. Her hand trembled, not from fear, but from weakness. That surprised her. He stood and checked the hallway. It was still empty. Whatever had chased her was gone, at least for now. He told her she could stay hidden there until she could move. There was no demand, no request for payment, just a simple offer. As he walked away, she watched his back disappear into the shadows. For the first time in a very long life, someone had helped her without knowing who she was. And for reasons she could not explain, that small act felt heavier than any battle she had ever won. She did not sleep much after he left. Pain kept pulling her awake, but that was not the real reason. Her mind stayed alert, listening to every sound in the station. For someone who had survived countless attacks, this place felt strange, too quiet, too small. And yet she had never felt more exposed. When footsteps echoed down the corridor, her body tensed. Her hand moved on instinct, searching for a weapon that was no longer there. Instead, the same man appeared, carrying a small light and a bundle of supplies. He looked tired, like someone who had worked too long and rested too little. He stopped when he saw her awake. There was no surprise in his face, no fear. He asked if the pain was worse. His voice was calm, the kind that did not demand answers. She nodded once. Words felt unnecessary. He sat at a careful distance and checked the bandages. Some blood had soaked through. He replaced them slowly, explaining what he was doing, as if she needed to know. No one had spoken to her like that in years. Orders were what she was used to. Silence or screaming followed after. She watched his hands. They were rough, marked by old scars and burns. Not the hands of a soldier or a ruler, the hands of someone who fixed things that broke every day. When he finished, he leaned back and sighed quietly, like the task mattered. She asked him why he helped her. The question came out sharper than she intended. He paused, then shrugged. He said it was the right thing to do. That answer confused her more than any lie would have. Outside the station, ships passed in the distance. Somewhere far away, alarms were probably sounding. Fleets were likely searching. She knew how fear moved through the galaxy when she disappeared. Yet here, none of that mattered. He offered her food. Simple, bland, and warm. She ate slowly, surprised by how much effort it took. He did not watch her closely or rush her. He cleaned his tools while waiting, humming quietly under his breath. She began to realize something unsettling. He did not know who she was, not truly. He saw an injured stranger, nothing more. The thought unsettled her. Her power had always entered the room before she did. Fear followed her name like a shadow. Here, she was just another person trying to breathe through pain. She asked where she was. He explained the station was old and mostly forgotten. People passed through when they wanted to disappear for a while. That word lingered in her mind, disappear. When he stood to leave again, she asked if he was afraid of her. He looked back, confused. He said fear came later, after people chose to be cruel. He told her to rest and turned off the light. Alone again, she stared into the darkness. For the first time in her long life, fear did not come from enemies. It came from kindness she did not understand. By the next cycle, the station felt different. Not louder, not busier, but tense in a quiet way. The air carried a low hum that did not belong to old machinery. He noticed it while checking the corridor. Ships were passing closer than usual, too close for comfort. He returned with fresh water and a scanner borrowed from a friend, who asked no questions. She was sitting up now, leaning against the crate, her breathing steadier. When he checked her wounds, he frowned slightly. The injuries were healing faster than expected. Not impossible, but unusual. She watched his reaction carefully. For the first time, she felt nervous about what he might think. That feeling annoyed her. Nothing annoyed her more than losing control over her own reactions. He asked where she learned to fight like that. The scars were old, layered over each other, telling a long story. She hesitated, then said she had lived a dangerous life. That much was true. He accepted the answer without pushing. Later, the station screens flickered to life on a nearby wall. An emergency broadcast cut through the silence. The image was distorted, but the message was clear. A powerful ruler had disappeared. Entire systems were on alert. Rewards were offered. Warnings were issued. He watched with mild interest, then turned away. She stayed very still. The figure on the screen matched her armor, her posture, even the sharp shape of her eyes. The title spoken carried weight across the galaxy. The most feared sovereign. He did not look at her. Not right away. When he finally did, there was no panic in his face. Only surprise, followed by a long pause. She waited for anger, for fear, for him to back away or call someone. Instead, he asked one question. He asked if the broadcast was about her. She nodded. Silence stretched between them. The station hummed on. He sat down slowly, as if thinking through something heavy. Then he spoke. He said that explained the armor. The discipline, the way she held herself even while injured. She told him everything she thought mattered, that she ruled through force. That fear kept order, that mercy had always been seen as weakness. She did not defend herself. She simply stated facts, the way history is written. When she finished, she waited again. He surprised her. He said wounds bleed the same, no matter who you are. He said pain does not care about titles. He added that helping someone does not turn into a mistake just because of who they happen to be. That hit harder than any threat. She had expected judgment or praise. She received neither. He told her search teams would arrive soon. The station was no longer safe. He offered to help her move when she was ready, not because of fear, not because of loyalty, because he had already chosen to help once. As ships drew nearer, she realized something frightening. For the first time, her power meant nothing in a room. And for the first time, that did not feel like a loss. The first patrol ship docked sooner than expected. He felt the vibration through the floor before any alarm sounded. The station lights dimmed, then steadied. Voices echoed far down the corridor, calm and official. Search teams were already inside. He moved without panic. Years of living on forgotten stations had taught him how to disappear in plain sight. He told her they could not stay where they were. She tried to stand and failed, pain flashing across her face. Without thinking, he stepped closer and offered his shoulder. She hesitated only a second before accepting. They moved through maintenance paths few people remembered. Narrow tunnels, warm pipes, low ceilings. She noticed how carefully he adjusted his pace to match hers. Not rushing, not slowing too much, just enough to keep her steady. At a junction, they stopped. Voices passed on the other side of a thin wall. Orders were being given. Her title was spoken out loud, heavy and familiar. She felt the old instinct rise inside her, the urge to step out, take control, and let fear do the work. She could end this quickly. One command, one signal, and fleets would bow. The galaxy would fall back into its usual shape. Safe, predictable, cruel. She looked at him. He was waiting, not pushing her, not deciding for her, just watching her face, ready to move if she said so. That simple trust unsettled her more than the threat outside. She shook her head and whispered for him to lead. They reached a small service bay near the outer hull. A personal transport rested there, old but functional. He'd had fixed it once for someone who never came back. He helped her inside and sealed the door just as footsteps approached. The ship drifted free, silent at first, then slipped into open space. Only when the station became a distant shape did he finally breathe out. She sat back, exhausted. The pain was still there, but something else pressed harder now. She had chosen not to rule, not today. He asked where she wanted to go. The question surprised her. No one had asked her that in a long time. She had always told others where they would go. She said somewhere quiet, somewhere no one would look. They travelled for hours, speaking little. He checked her wounds again, careful and patient. She watched him work and realized how strange it felt to be protected by someone with no army. When they finally landed on a small, unmarked world, dawn was breaking. Pale light spread across empty land. No cities, no banners, just silence. He helped her down the ramp. She stood on the soil and felt something loosen inside her chest. The galaxy was still out there, waiting for her return. But for the first time, she understood that power did not have to mean control. Behind them, the transport cooled in the morning air. Ahead of them was a choice she had never truly had before. And it all began because one human had decided that helping was enough. But the days passed slowly on the quiet world. The air was clean, and the sky changed colors in gentle ways. He built a small shelter using old tools from the transport and materials he found nearby. It was simple, but strong enough. She spent most of the time resting, her strength returning little by little. They did not speak about the galaxy at first. He focused on small things, making food, fixing the power unit, checking her wounds every morning. She noticed how steady his routine was. There was comfort in knowing what came next. Far away, confusion spread. Fleets searched empty systems. Messages grew desperate. Rumors replaced facts. Some said the feared sovereign had been destroyed. Others claimed she was planning something worse. Without her presence, old fears began to lose their hold. Systems hesitated before acting. People waited instead of obeying. She watched the sky at night and thought about what she had been. Every choice she made had shaped lives she never saw. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel the weight of that truth without pushing it away. One evening, she told him she would return one day. Not to rule the way she had before, but to end what she started, to change how power was used. She expected him to argue or warn her. He simply said that when people are ready to listen, fear stops working. He said she would have to speak instead of command. When she was strong enough to leave, the transport was prepared quietly. There were no promises, no dramatic goodbyes. He helped her aboard and handed her a small bundle of supplies. He told her she already knew how to survive. She looked at him for a long moment. She said that no one had ever treated her like a person before. Not allies, not enemies, just him. He shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention. He said people are people before anything else. The ship lifted off and vanished into the sky. He stood alone until it was gone, then returned to his work. Another shelter needed fixing. Another day moved forward. Years later, the galaxy changed in ways no one could fully explain. Laws softened, fear-driven rule faded. The sovereign returned, but not as a shadow that swallowed stars. She spoke openly. She stepped down when needed. She listened. No one ever learned where the change began, No history record mentioned a forgotten station or a quiet world. There were no monuments. He remained unknown, living a simple life, helping where he could. He never asked for credit. He never needed it. And somewhere deep in the systems she once ruled, a leader remembered the day she was bleeding on a cold floor, and a human chose kindness without knowing who she was. That small choice reshaped the galaxy more than any war ever had.